Okay, welcome back. Now that we have our label and button added to the project, we're in good shape. However, as we just demonstrated, once you run the simulator and click the button, nothing actually happens. So here's what we're going to do in this lecture is we're going to fix that, and we're going to connect the button to the actual code by using things called outlets and actions. And I want to cover this briefly, but also it's an important topic. I remember I was actually pretty confused with the difference between these two when I was first starting. So I want to specifically cover what the difference is between an outlet and an action. But first, let's go ahead and connect the button to the code. So what you want to do here is go ahead and click this little two-circle button up in the top right, and that will bring open another file, which in our case, luckily, is the view controller. That's what we want. And once you're here, above the override function view.did.load, just add in a few lines of space there, okay? Next, since we're working together on both screens at once, it's going to get a little tight. However, you should be able to make this manage. So we're going to create an outlet and an action. And in order to do that, you're going to do this a lot in the future when you're using storyboards and throughout this course. This is your first one. So what you want to do is you want to hold Control on the keyboard and click and hold on the button itself. Once that's done, you can drag, and notice this line comes over, drag into the view controller, and release the mouse while continuing to hold Control. Okay, when that pops up, you're going to get this little menu here, and here's where you get to choose between an outlet and an action, and we're going to name it. So first, we're going to choose the outlet, and let's name it My Button Outlet. From there, you can go ahead and click Connect, and you'll see that all of a sudden in the view controller file, we've now have this code IB outlet weak var my button outlet. Okay, so it's a button, we know that. We just named it my button outlet, and it's a weak variable. We'll come back to that in future lectures, but now there is an outlet connection between the code and the button. So let's go ahead and control click one more time into the viewcontroller.swift file, then select an action. And let's call this one My Button Action. Okay, type any, go ahead and click connect, and now we have an IB action, which is connected to the button itself. Okay, so you can close out of the view controller file. Go ahead and click Command S to save the project. So now you're probably wondering, what are these things? What is an outlet and what is a action? So here is a slide, which, by the way, this slide is downloadable as a resource in this lecture and in this section. So outlets and actions. Okay, let's walk through this. An outlet here. What does it do? The view controller, which is the item in code that controls the view of the app, the view controller talks to the view itself by using an outlet. In simple language, outlets connect things, in our case this button, so you can programmatically change them. For example, when certain information needs to be updated, like a label value or slider value, the outlet connections make it happen. Very simply, outlets update information. Okay, very simply, that's what outlets are. Actions, on the other hand, the view passes on messages about the view to the view controller by using an action. In simple language, actions allow the object to do something. Right? That something can be anything. For example, a button is tapped and a sound effect is played. So very simply, actions make things occur. Okay, so that's the difference between an outlet and an action. Outlets change things, actions do things. That's a very simplified description, but in the beginning, that's exactly what you need to hear. That's what the differences are. So let's go to the viewcontroller.swift and let's make these things do something. How's that sound? So first, in the My Button action, after the curly bracket, give yourself a little space, and let's do another print function. So print, and how about we just say, the button was tapped. So now every time the button is tapped, we should see this message printed to the console. So let's go ahead and run the project and test it out. Okay, app is running, so let's go ahead and click the button, and as expected in the console down here, we see the button was tapped every time we tap. So this is exactly why printing to the console is very useful and important, because we can test to see if things are being done as we expect them to be done. Okay, so it's pretty cool to see that we can do something when we tap the button. Right now we're printing only to the console, but we also have the button connected to an outlet, which means we can change the button since their connection is made. So why don't we change the text on the button once it's tapped? So in the My Button action, okay, after the print line, go ahead and write the following. It may not make total sense to you just yet, but trust me, it will by the time you're through with this course. So the outlet is My Button Outlet. And you notice it starts to pop up in a pre-populated menu here, so you can just go ahead and click that. So go ahead and hit My Button Outlet dot set title. And here is where we want to change the title. So do a quotation mark and let's type button tapped. Close the quotation mark, hit tab, and now you're in this other section here. So 4, and just write dot normal. Close off the parenthesis. So now when we tap the button, it will change the title from My Button to button tapped. So now go ahead and run the project and let's test that. Okay, so now when we tap the button, we will see printed to the console as this button was tapped, and the title will change from My Button to button tapped. So go ahead and try it. It works, great. Of course, you can only do it once because once it's changed, it's already changed. But nonetheless, it's pretty cool that you're able to now have a button added to a project and have it do 2 things at once, actually. So it is a great start. But next I want to cover something that I never saw covered in any resources before, and it really bothered me when I was starting. And that is, what if you make a mistake during one of these connections? Right? If you're making an outlet or an action and you make a mistake, what happens? Because if there was a mistake and you click the button, the entire app would crash. And of course you don't want that. So in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to correct an outlet or action mistake. Because trust me, it will occur and it will save you a lot of time. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll see you in the next lecture.